So, welcome back. Now, let's talk about the different negotiation types that are around the world. So, as we mentioned in the introduction, uh, you can only negotiate in two different types today in the world. So, we're going to see the two different negotiation types, and then we're going to talk about them in order to understand how they developed. Okay? So, for that, let me share with you a presentation about the negotiation types or the types of negotiations we have. So going really quick through this, um, I would like you to imagine the world. Think about the world, but not today. Think about the world maybe 60 or 70 years ago. So 60 or 70 years ago, um, of course, communications were not developed the way they are today. Of course, the transportation systems were not even close to what they are today. So at that point, um, if you wanted to send merchandise from Asia to America, first of all, the freight was very expensive. Second, there were not many options for freight. What I mean is there were not many fleet corporations doing the trans-Pacific merchandise movements. So the big ships were not as big as they were today, and there were not as many as they are today. So having this all in mind, when you think about trading in this kind of circumstances, we have to understand that competition was very scarce. There was not a lot of competition. So if you were a distributor, you were distributing something. Uh, in the best case, you were almost alone there. Maybe you had one or two competitors, maybe close by, but competition from other parts of the world was non-existent because the price of the freight and the duration of the freight made it impossible to compete. So people knew, businessmen knew that competition was almost non-existent. So every time somebody wanted something from another company, like if they wanted to buy some parts or whatever, uh, imagine the situation. Person comes and says, "Hey, I would like to buy 100 pieces of this." Yeah, yeah, we have the 100 pieces. So how much do you want from them? They would say, well, it's $500 a piece. Well, you know what? No, I'm going to offer you 420. And the other person would say, okay, $500 is the best price. Take it or leave it. Don't waste my time. There's a lot of people wanting to buy them. And I know there's another place you can get them. So either you pay me 500 or please get out of the way because somebody else wants to buy them. That was it. Negotiations were rough. Negotiations were tough. And the only reason why they were that way is because there was no competition or very small competition. But today the scenario is completely different. Today, competition is big. Competition is vast. Your competition is around the corner, around the same neighborhood, around the same city, around the same state, around your same continental area, and around the world. So today you are competing with somebody that is completely on the other side of the world. Because today the freight and the communications brought us closer. So freight today, you can send a 40 feet, 20-ton container all the way from the Mexican Pacific coast to China for $600. That's it, $600. That price 10 years ago was more than $6,000. That's how low the prices on the freight are today. Okay, so today we can negotiate in the world only in two different ways. So the name of these two types of negotiations, let's call it the technical name, is distributive negotiations, they claim value, or integrative negotiations. First they create and then they claim value. Let me explain. Distributive negotiations. On the table, there are $5. If I take 3, you take 2. If I take 5, you take 0. If you take 4, I only take 1. That's a distributive negotiation. Whatever is there is going to be divided between the two. The integrative negotiations on the other side, they work very differently. Integrative negotiations, first, you have to create value and then you claim it. Now, creating value, on the table, there are $5. How can both of us work together in order to make those $5 $10? And then we will see how we are going to split it. That's how an integrative negotiation looks like. Integrative negotiations are very special, and you are going to recognize them by the name, let's call it the traditional name they give to them, which is the win-win negotiation, a win-win deal. Okay, now in distributive negotiations, both parties, they compete over a fixed sum of value. That is, the person who is in front of you is competing with you. Yes, it is a competition. And what happens in a competition is that we usually have one winner and we have one loser. Somebody wins, somebody loses. That's what happens in a distributive negotiation. Now, whatever one side wins, the other side loses. That's the way they work, okay? On the other side, in an integrative negotiations, both sides, they are not competing. It is not a competition. They are cooperating. They have to work together. They have to find a way so that both of them win. And you can get there only by cooperation. So there is no room for competition in an integrated negotiation. So that's what makes integrated negotiations special. We're going to find out how to deal with them. Okay, when we're talking about distributive negotiations, first of all, the first proposal, the opening position, becomes a very important point. It becomes a very strong psychological anchor point. So you have to really think about what is going to be your opening position. Okay, you have to calculate it really, really well. Now, in a distributive negotiation, remember, these ones are the win-lose. Okay, win-lose. One side wins, the other side loses. In a distributive negotiation, information becomes very, very important. Whatever information you give to the other side, they are going to use it against you. So be careful. Be careful with what you share about this information because they are going to use it against you. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are buying a used car, okay? By the way, distributed negotiations, the best example is buying a used car. That's the way it goes. So distributed negotiations. Let's say you are buying a used car, okay? And uh, there's one ad on the newspaper. So you see the ad and you call and you make an appointment. Now you're there and you're looking at the car. So the owner shows you the car, and then, well, you like the car. The car is nice, the car is in good condition. So you are interested in the car, and you know that the price for that car should be around $5,000. So the person who's selling the car, the person who's selling the car gives you a price. He tells you $5,500. So you think a while, you're thinking, you don't say anything, you're quiet, you're thinking. And the other side, he gets nervous. He fears he's going to lose you. So after 30, 40 seconds, he tells you, okay, you know, I'm asking $5,500, but okay, let me tell you, I have a problem. I need to make a payment to the bank by next Monday morning. Otherwise, they are going to take my home away because I owe them money. So I need to pay them by next Monday morning. So how much do you offer me? Now, of course, we're not bad people. Okay, we're not going to take advantage of that. But if somebody wanted to take advantage of that, they could do it. They could just offer you, well, you know, I have $4,000 cash here in my pocket. You want them right now or not? And the reason why instead of offering 5,000, you're offering 4,000 is because they gave you a piece of information that you're using against the other side. So be very careful in distributed negotiations. Do not give information away, okay? Now you have to learn a lot about the other side. Try to find out everything, anything and everything that you can about the other side. And whenever you set up your opening position, don't overshoot. Don't go too high, because if it's too high, people is not even going to ask you. They're going to walk away, okay? So everything that we have been talking about is about distributed negotiations. Now, let's talk about in integrative negotiations. Uh, in integrative negotiations, remember, you are cooperating with the other side. And because you are cooperating with the other side, what do you do with information? You have to share it. You have to share information. Because if you don't share information, there's no way that both of you can build something together, something that is in the interest of both sides. So if you want to achieve success in an integrative negotiation, you not only have to share information, you also have to be able to find out what the other side needs that you can provide, because you have to make sure that the other side is winning. Because you stand at the point where if the other side is not winning, neither are you. If they don't win, you don't win. So you have to make sure you're winning. And sorry, you have to make sure they are winning so that at the same time you are winning, okay? So we said this is about cooperation. This is about sharing information. This is about telling them, okay, this is what I can do for you. Now, I need something from you. Can you help me with this? I need a little bit more discount. Well, if you cannot give me a discount, then, well, what about giving me some extra credit, like 60 days for payment or something? So this is a way you can build something together. Now, usually, In a distributive negotiation, you are negotiating only with the price, one element price. In a used car, what do you use to negotiate? Only the price. So you're negotiating with the price. In an integrated negotiation, you cannot negotiate with price. There's no way to build a win-win situation only with the price. So you have to integrate 4, 5, 6 elements in order to be able to provide a proposal that helps both sides. Okay? So you have to explain the other side what you're doing, and you have to hear from them what they are doing. You have to be able to reveal additional capabilities. Let them know some of the things that you could involve, that you can include in the negotiation. And whatever you learn from other negotiations or from this one, put it on the table so that you can achieve success. Now, one other element that is very important about integrated negotiations and distributive negotiations. Remember, we said distributive negotiations usually are rough, they are tough, they are competitions. And because of that, at the end, usually the relation is not very good. So distributive negotiations usually destroy relationships. Now, integrative negotiations, on the contrary, integrative negotiations, they develop the relationship. Why? Because you are solving a problem to the other person. You're interested in the other person winning. The other person is interested in you, that you win. So by doing this, at the end, you are going to share an agreement that benefits both sides. And because of that, the relation at the end is very good. So if you have, especially if you have repeated businesses, like if you are negotiating with a company that you're interested in coming back with you next week, 1 month from now, next year, whatever. So if it's repeated businesses, the only way to do that is by an integrated negotiation. And it makes sense. How many times in your life are you going to buy a used car from the same person? Just one at the most, and that's it. So when you're negotiating the used car with the other people, are you interested in the relationship? The answer is no, because you're never going to see this person again. However, when you're negotiating a deal with another company, and this company may become your client in the future, may come back maybe in 1 month or in 2 months, or next time they need the same thing. Are you interested in the relationship? The answer is yes. So that's the reason why we say that whenever you have a negotiation where the relationship is important, you make sure that you are designing an integrated negotiation. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit later in this same unit, we're going to talk about the different negotiation types, the styles, how we negotiate. And you are going to relate that part to this one of the different types of negotiation. Remember, distributive or integrative negotiations, okay? So thank you very much for your attention. Now, let's go to the rest of the unit. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.